So hi and welcome to this video featuring the Beocord 2400 reel-to-reel tape recorder from the Danish company of Bang & Olufsen. Now Bang & Olufsen these days are perhaps more known for their exquisite design, but in those days, when this machine was made in 1969, when it was launched, B&O was more of an upmarket brand among many brands in the European hi-fi market. Now, of course, the European hi-fi market basically crashed sometime in the mid-70s with only some companies such as Philips and B&O remaining. But in these days, they were one among many, although this is, I must say, quite a feature-rich machine, and we'll go through some of the features as we record and play back some tapes to demonstrate how it works. The machine is a 4-track recorder, which means it records 4 tracks on the tape, but only 2 tracks at a time. So it's 2 tracks in each direction of tape, 2 from one end, 2 from the other, which means you can get 1 stereo recording on each side of the tape, or 4 mono recordings. And contrary to a cassette recorder, you can actually record on the 2 tracks in each direction separately, and we will demonstrate that. But first, let's turn the machine on using this combined speed selector and power switch. It actually has 6 positions. Every second position being a 0, which turns the machine off, and the remaining 3 positions are for selecting the actual speed. The speed markings are 1, 2, and 3 in Roman numerals, but they actually correspond to the standard speeds 1 7/8, 3 3/4, and 7.5 inches per second. The machine has 3 tape heads. There's an erase head, a record head, and a playback head, so we have separate record and playback heads for optimal record and playback quality. And there's also a gap here between the two. This machine was available, an earlier version of this machine was available in a 2-track version where you could only record, if you recorded stereo, you basically used up the whole tape when recording on one side, but you got better fidelity thanks to the wider tracks. That machine also offered a 4-track playback head, so you could play back 4-track tapes, in effect getting the best of both worlds. I'm not sure if this machine was actually available in a 2-track version. This one is certainly the 4-track version with only 3 tape heads. So we'll put a full reel of tape on the left-hand side here, and we'll thread it through, and you might notice that it has tension rollers that catch any tape loops and handle the tape very smoothly, or therefore handle the tape very smoothly. If I wind forward like this, you'll notice the joystick control. This was something that Bang & Olufsen used, but other Scandinavian manufacturers, such as most notably Tandberg, but also the Swedish Luxor company, also used joysticks. And I'm not really sure why that was so prominent with the Scandinavian manufacturers. In the rest of the world, as far as I know, it was mostly BSR in Britain, which sold chassis to a lot of other manufacturers and used them. If I wind the tape back, that's of course you just slide the switch, the joystick in the opposite direction, and it winds back. And then of course there's the standard play position where you just move it forward. Now, contrary, even though this looks like a rather clunky control, it is actually quite easy to operate. It doesn't require a lot of force. Clearly, some thought has gone into its design. So what we'll do here is I'm going to make a small recording on one of the tracks using this microphone, which is a typical microphone of the period, although not a Bang & Olufsen microphone, this being one from Tandberg, but it fits beautifully in this machine and it works very well. So I will attempt to record now by pressing down this button and moving the function control forward and advancing the record level volume. And I don't know if you probably can't see that in this video, but the needle here on the meter is now moving, indicating that there's a signal going in. The color of the meter has also changed from white to slightly pink. I believe it should be more red, really. It's just that I think the color, the paint on the light bulb inside has burned off over the years. So, well, we're going to wind the tape back to the start. Use the automatic stop function to get to the right position. Press down the right-hand recording button, and now we're going to get a recording on the right-hand channel. And what I will do is I'm going to wind the tape back, and we can listen to those 2 recordings together or one at a time to demonstrate the mono and stereo features of the machine. So let's wind the tape back, and if I just start the machine, press down the left hand, or this speaker button here, which engages the first set of speakers. I've only got one speaker connected to the left hand channel here. You can also have two more speakers connected to the second, or controlled by the second button, for a total of 4 if you have speakers in 2 rooms, for instance. But let's start by listening to the recording we just made. You can get a recording on the right hand channel. And what I will do is I'm going to wind the tape back and see that I listen to these 2 recordings. So now we had heard both the recordings at the same time, and the reason for that is that these 2 playback switches are in the uppermost position, and that means that we're going to get a mix of the left and right hand channels in our playback. If I just press down the left hand button and disengage the pause, is now moving, indicating that there's a signal going in. The color of the meter, and I get record the left hand. Listen to the left hand recording. Here's the recording from the right hand channel. So let's wind the tape back. Well, that was short and sweet. We go back a bit further. Get a recording on the right hand channel. If I press both of them, I will get a stereo playback, in this case listening to both channels at once, but since I've only got one speaker connected, we would only listen to the left, or only hear the left channel, and besides my camera's in mono, so that wouldn't really offer any stereo experience anyway. So what more features are there? Well, if you turn the power switch off at the back, you can still turn on the amplifiers using this button here, and that is if you want to use the tape recorder as an amplifier without running the motor. So this machine was intended to be used, if you wanted it, as the central component in your stereo system, and you could then mix microphone, gramophone, and radio inputs using these sliders. So quite a comprehensive set of inputs with 3 different ones. There is also a line input which would be connected to this knob, which is marked S on S. Now S on S really stands for sound on sound. Sound on sound is a feature that enables you to record one channel or one track and then bounce that over to the other track while adding new material, and that way you could create a musical composition by bouncing back and forth. And you use this button to engage that function. In this case, the S on S controls does not control the signal in from the line input, but instead from the other channel. The S on S controls is also used for the echo function. If I press down echo over here and start a recording, sorry, I turned the motor off, remember? So let's go over here, let's start a recording, and if I listen to this ever so slightly, there will be a slight echo because there's acoustic feedback from the speaker to the microphone, but if I move the sound on sound control up, you'll hear that the echo will become more prominent than if I turn it down. If I press the S on S button together with the echo, I get a ping-pong effect, which means that I actually get a, it's hard to hear here, it means the stereo effect will bounce back and forth, or the echo effect will bounce back and forth between the channels. So they really have a comprehensive feature set in this machine. So finally, a few more things here. There's a bass and treble control for the playback. There is a headphone output here on the side, and a switch so I can switch off the automatic end stop, the optical automatic end stop, which engages when the tape runs completely out of the machine. I can disable that if I want to. And finally, the last button I haven't mentioned is the synchro button over here. When used together with one of the record buttons, that means that I can listen to a recording done on one track using the record head for perfect synchronization with the new recording that I'm making on the other track. If I want to make a separate record on the tracks individually but still have them line up perfectly when I play it back. Finally, there's a tape counter over here, which is fairly basic. It just records or measures, counts the number of revolutions of the right hand reel. So nothing fancy there, but it's a very useful feature to have. So there we have it. This is the Beocord 2400 reel-to-reel recorder from the Danish Bang & Olufsen company, manufactured during the first years of the 1970s. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.